Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. How's everyone today?
I can't speak for everyone, but I'm excited.
That is always perfect. I like excited. So, today's big thing that we're going to talk about is branding. And the reason that we've decided to go with branding is because lots of people don't do it.
Yeah.
They think that they're doing it only to realize that no, they're very much not. People get confused on what branding means. Sometimes I think
Yeah.
as well. I think that people get so caught up in the color schemes that they don't really understand that branding involves a lot more than
Or the
that.
logo. It's all about the logo, but
Yeah.
it's not.
People don't care about your logo. Your logo is just a consistency thing.
Like, it's great to have in the little, thumbnail corner on YouTube if you're doing a YouTube channel and stuff like that. But really, at the end of the day, they're gonna remember you and not the logo. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
whenever we talked about this a little bit before, new realtors, new affiliate marketers, anything like that, it's like, okay, well, what's your superhero name? What's your persona? What's going to make you a three-dimensional person instead of a two-dimensional business card?
Yeah, and there are a few ways that you can do that. The first thing is to define your unique selling proposition. So determine what makes you unique, and why people should come to you or choose you over everybody else that's in your space. And this could be your expertise or your experience or personality. They just jive with you better, right?
Yep,
But how are they going to
exactly
know your
right.
personality if you don't actually show it off?
Exactly. So one of the things that we like to tell people when we're talking branding is who is your ideal client and who are you to them? So many people will just be like, "Well, I need to sell to everybody," and no, you don't. Like, I jive with people who love dogs because I have dogs. I'm not going to jive as well with a single mother because I don't have children. So you don't want to talk to everybody. And also, I wouldn't know how to help her with some of her problems, and I have an aversion to children anyway. So, like that wouldn't work out, right? And I know this about myself. So I'm not going to put out content calling all single mothers. I'm going to put out, calling all people who just want to play fetch all day with their dog or hike all day with their dog. That's more my theme. So think about who you actually want to work with and build from there.
Absolutely. And that's identifying your target audience is more, you need to do that no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But because if you don't know who you're talking to, then how are you going to be able to reach them? Because if
Hmm.
somebody's just blowing out on a megaphone, rah, 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 you literally sound like Charlie Brown's teachers. You sound like the adults in Charlie Brown, right? Rah, rah,
Yeah.
rah, 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 rah. So you don't want to be that. You want to be more than that. So you need to know what their pain points are, what their needs are, where they want to go. And that's going to be a lot based on who you are, what you're offering, and how you can reach them with your own. How did you get reached? Right? What stood out
Yeah.
to you? What called you to it? Okay. What was it that made you stop and look at whatever it is you're selling? What was your purpose on that? Because that's
Yep.
probably going to be the large part your target audience's way too.
Don't be afraid to talk about it, right? Your product solves a problem. Talk about it solving your problem. Talk about the pain points you had, because somebody else has those pain points too and just doesn't know how to solve it. So often we just want to share like the positive stuff or the generic call to action stuff, but if you get into the nitty gritty of like, yeah, I had $3 in my bank account, but I did this and this solved it, and now I have more money and more time because of this. You don't have to do the snap.
Exactly. So the other thing that we want to do is you want to create consistent branding elements, from your logo and your color scheme, which we did talk about earlier, to your tone of voice, the way you're trying to talk to people. So if you come off, if professional, if you are the suit and tie person, then be the suit and tie person. If you're not, don't try to be that suit and tie person, because it's not going to be easy for you to maintain that. If you are somebody who's very casual in the way that you talk, then be that person. If you like to show up with a bit of flare and flash, then be that person. That's
Hmm.
part of your brand, is part of who you are. So being true to yourself and being picking something that you can maintain. And that will be in your conversation style, your present, like who you present yourself as, all of that. That's, I mean, those are the people also that you will be attracting to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of touches on what we started talking about last week, where like I could easily do all my videos in my medieval corsets and my full artistic goth makeup, but I know that I'm not going to want to do that every day. And I know my content will fail because of it. So there's plenty of me talking to me videos where I just look like a slob. But that's okay because, there's other ones where I'm dressed up. But for the most part, I'm not the makeup everyday kind of person. And so it doesn't make sense to brand myself as that kind of person. And that's why a lot of my stuff is just me being comfortable in my house because that's why I do what I do.
In fact, I used to be a makeup person, but as I get older, I have less and less patience and time for that. So sometimes you'll see me with makeup on and sometimes you won't. But I thought about, I got to do my hair and I got to do my makeup every time I do a video. And I went, oh my God, I'll never do it because it's never going to be perfect because that requires way too much time and effort. But if that's
Yeah.
your thing, if that's something that you enjoy doing, then do it. But if it's not something that you enjoy doing, don't let it be a barrier for you. And don't make it part of your branding either, because people want to see a consistent version of you. And they don't mind some deviations here and there. But if you're all over the place, it's really difficult for anyone to jive with you. Think back to that person, because I'm sure we all know at least one person who is chaotic. We never know who they are or what they're doing. It makes us uncomfortable. We can't connect with them because we don't know who they are. And you have trouble believing anything that they're telling you because they're always showing a different side. If you see them being different with every single person, then you start to wonder, well, who are they really? And who am I actually dealing with? Is this person my friend, or are they just pretending? And when you're doing branding, it's important that you aren't coming across as being the great pretender, because why would anybody trust you? And
Yep.
trust is such a huge part of the online marketing space.
Yeah, and we see so many people doing it because they're trying to be everything, and it's just not good. And that's where you also need to provide value through content, right? So doing the videos is great. Doing the fun dancey videos or like the silly videos with the silly voices, those are all well and good. And they are a great way to break up your content if you've had like, if you've been talking about the same program for the entire week, or if you've been promoting something really heavily. It's a good way to break it up and remind your audience that, hey, I'm just a normal person as well.
Yeah.
But if your content isn't providing value, you can have the greatest call to actions in the world, but people aren't going to see them because they're not going to watch the whole video. So again, I think there needs to be the fun videos where you flat out say like, "Oh yeah, this is just for fun" or whatever. But value, 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 value.
It can be very multidimensional, right? You've got your blog posts, your videos, your Facebook posts, and Instagram, or your TikToks, your podcasts, whatever it is that you're doing, right? You try to bring that consistency and that value to every space that you're going in. The content needs to be consistent with who you're presenting yourself as, and it also has to have value to the people that are coming to you. So, because if you're only posting silliness, or you're only posting quotes, because I do see that a lot, people only post quotes, that's not telling anybody anything about you. And also, that's just taking from someone else. You're not that person, right? Create your own quotes.
Exactly.
Be your own quote master.
Exactly. And then hand to hand in content, which is where I do struggle, is interact and engage. So it's all well and good to put your stuff out there and be like, I am the best. I can help you with this problem. I can do this. I can do this. But then if you're not actually engaging with anybody else or responding to anybody who's engaging with you, very quickly the algorithms are going to go, well, you're not actually active. So we're not going to push your stuff. It alienates you a little bit from your ideal audience.
Well, yeah, because it feels a lot like take and not give, right?
Hmm.
Even though you think you're giving value by providing the content and giving the tips and the tricks and stuff like that, it does feel very much like a one-way transaction. Yeah, definitely reach out and engage with your people. And that's also by using your polls and stuff like that, because you can see what resonates and what doesn't resonate. And again, how you engage, again, factors right into your branding. Are you a casual conversationalist? Are you somebody who's more serious? Are you somebody who likes to keep things out in the front so that everybody can see? Are you somebody who pulls things into the private conversations because you want to maintain privacy for everybody? All of those are viable. None of those are
Yeah.
off the table. It's just recognizing that each one is a different type of branding. Are you confrontational? That's a brand. If you're a confrontational person and you get off on
Hmm.
stirring the pot, then be that person. It's
We know a few of
absolutely.
those.
Hmm?
So we
Yeah,
know
we
a few
know.
of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It works for them,
Hmm.
and good for them. I can't do that. That is not my. That's just not who I am.
I
I'm.
thought that would be me because I do push back on people, but I discovered with social media, because it's people saying things they would never say to your face, it becomes gross really fast. In my opinion,
Mhm.
it's just it goes too far often.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I learned that that was actually not me, even though I thought it would be. So
There's a difference, I think, too, between stirring the pot and standing up for yourself. You're more than welcome to have opinions. There's more to it when you're just standing up for yourself, right? If you're trying to create controversy, you're the person who's going to throw out the really inflammatory statements. You're the person that's going to be calling out people in a very negative way, or net programs or whatever it is. And you want that controversy because that's what's going to get things rolling. But if you're somebody who's standing up for yourself or standing up for a cause, that's a completely different kind of feeling. And that doesn't mean that you're pushing anybody else down. You're just standing up, right? And that's
yeah.
a big difference between being controversial and just, standing up for what you believe, in my
Yeah.
opinion, anyways.
I usually just respond to them like, okay, well, I hope your day gets better and leave it at that. So it's
I
just so much
swear
easier
my
for me.
favorite my favorite response to that is I hope you have the day you deserve. It's such a great statement. Have the day you deserve.
It's so similar to like emails I send to investors when they send us crap offers of, okay, well, we'll give this offer the consideration it deserves.
And then all of this boils down to, and which we have alluded to completely repeatedly, is being authentic. People can't believe in you if you don't believe enough in yourself to be your authentic you. And it's not always easy to know what that is. I saw a post today that I responded to. They're like, what's the one topic you could talk about for 30 minutes without preparing for? And I'm like, honestly, I have a whole entire list. I have so many interests and so many things that I've got experience with, and so many things that I have educated myself on just simply because I wanted to know. So yeah, what do you mean one thing? I can talk
Yep.
about anything.
Yeah, that was kind
um,
of the struggle when I started out too, because I was like, okay, well, let me compartmentalize and break all this up into one thing. And then it really became like, hey, like your Facebook profile only shows that you're a realtor. And I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, you gotta throw some other stuff in there. So like, all right. So then I went the complete opposite. I still have everything segmented across different social media platforms just because different reels are for different audiences. But my main Facebook now, like if you go to my Facebook, you're like, oh, yep, okay, she's into cold plunge, she's into affiliate marketing, she's a realtor, she's into dogs, like it's all there. So I think we overcomplicate it sometimes when we're like, but I have all of these interests and I can't be all of these people in one thing. You absolutely can. You just got to make sure your message is clear.
yeah, I mean, if you're a marketer and you know like what your main thing that you're marketing, then maybe that is your focus. But that doesn't mean you can't bring these other elements of your personality into what you're doing. You may not want to confuse people too much, depending on what platform you're using for your actual marketing, just because people will get confused if you throw too many things on the plate for them. We don't, as much as we want free will and choice, we struggle a little bit with it. choices.
Mm.
It's like staring at the cereal aisle for half an hour because there's like 8,000 cereals on there.
And they're all trash. No, I was kidding.
Pretty much, yeah. You gotta start at the bottom. Start at the bottom. Always look at the bottom row, not the top.
Mhm.
So being your authentic self sort of goes into brand archetypes. And this is a simple little exercise that you can do for yourself. There are 12 classic brand archetypes. And if you go on Google or any search engine, you can say, what are the classic brand archetypes? And they'll bring them up. So there's the innocent, the everyman, the hero, the rebel, the outlaw. I'm the everyman. The explorer, the creator, the ruler, the magician, the lover, the caregiver, the jester, and the sage. Now, each one of these has certain characteristics. And honestly, when you first start looking at them, you may think, but I align with like 3 or 4 of these. And that's fine. That's totally fine. We all have different parts of different things, but we might find one that stands out a little bit more. There's a quick and easy way to sort of try and see which one suits you best. And that is to just basically use ChatGPT. You can go into ChatGPT and say, write me like a 1 paragraph story about the rebel or outlaw brand archetype, classic brand archetype. And it will give you a story. It'll be like a 1 paragraph story about this fictitious person doing this fictitious thing. And you'll say, yeah, I could see myself doing that or not. And if you see a few of them, if you have a few, go in and then ask it to expand on it. If you're like, well, I'm not really sure, ask it to expand on it. Then you can ask it, like, what colors align with this? What energy aligns with this? All these kinds of things. And then you can break it down and then figure out which one is probably your most common. And then that will help you create a brand image. That'll help you with your logo design. That will help you with your color schemes. It will help you with the way that you talk. You already have a way of talking, but this might help you define it. And then you can also train ChatGPT to speak or keep in mind your brand archetype. Once you've nailed that down, you can tell it to keep that in mind whenever it's writing something for you, and it will change and adjust the way that it puts things together. So always super helpful. And yeah, Google's your friend here, or whatever search engine. You might want to pick one that's not so biased, but
Yeah.
they're all going to have that particular information because it's not hidden information. So by all means, utilize it. This will help you just narrow your focus a bit more on how to create a common form of imagery, conversation, content, how you speak to people, how you show up to people, all of that sort of stuff. It'll help create a more rounded and specific way, and then do that across all your platforms.
I love that the jester's on here because I totally brought that up in my video leading up to this, but I was just really being facetious, and I love that it's a real, actual trope.
Absolutely, it is, because there are some people where, I mean, jokes and laughing and humor is how they present themselves in the world, right? If they didn't, we wouldn't have comedians.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and comedians are a brand unto themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They have their own things. And even within the comedic groups, really, they're not necessarily going to be, all the same. Examples for the jester would be Old Spice, Ben and Jerry's, Eminem, right? They use humor as a way to promote themselves. That's very consistent, right?
And who doesn't love the Terry Crews Old Spice commercial?
Well, come on, a kid.
or the other guy, yeah, look over here. Now I'm on a horse. That guy was good too. Or
Yeah.
Dos Equis is another one that the very specific dude, most interesting man in the universe. And always, 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 guys, don't worry about perfection, right? So when I first started these, I was so paranoid about the dogs showing up in the video, or I still don't like it when they're loud in the videos, obviously when they're barking a lot, but you're gonna have days where, especially if you live with someone else, the house is not at all what you want to present to the public. I struggle with that often when I do the kitchen videos because my kitchen is always a disaster zone. It always looks like a tornado went through it. but it's a great place to shoot content. So are there going to be people who comment about, oh, your house is a mess, or oh, there's dust everywhere, or, oh my God, you need a vacuum? Of course there are. But again, people are going to comment about anything if they're having a bad day. Like my post last night, people call Domino's to complain that their pizza's not cut uniformly. Like people
Mm-hmm.
complain about weird stuff. So just take it with a grain of salt and move on. The people who really
Absolutely.
care about
And
what you're
those
talking
are
about
not
won't
your people, right?
care.
Those are not your people.
Yep.
So, I think that's a really an important thing to sort of keep in mind when you get the trolls and you get the people who are, I don't get this and I don't understand. Well, that's fine. Then this isn't for you. And that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay for it to not be for you. It's okay if you don't like it or you don't get it, because you are entitled to your opinions and your thoughts and your feelings, and you're entitled to take them with you when you leave. Simple
Yep.
enough.
I had a guy attack my steampunk attire on a series of videos I did about upcoming trends in the real estate market. And he was like, why would we listen to somebody on upcoming trends when you're not even a classic or trending person? Steampunk's dead. And I was like, oh no, a random guy in Los Angeles doesn't like my hat. And he was like, you don't have to be extra about it. And I was like, well, you don't have to be a jerk about it either. But clearly, you're not my ideal client. Also, what I'm wearing or how I choose to present myself has nothing to do with my ability to present facts about the housing market. But I wouldn't work with you anyway, so it's fine.
Yep. Have the day you deserve.
Mm-hmm. It is
Yeah.
okay to turn people down. Like, believe it or not, realtors do fire clients. So,
It's the same with this. You're not going to align with everybody, but when you're building your brand and you make it consistent across your platforms, those people who are naysayers and those people who maybe start poking at you and they're going to become less and less because they're not your target audience. And so they're not going to be, you're going to have the one offs that are absolutely just going to pop on just to create havoc because that is who they are. But
mm-hmm.
they're going to be so much less because you're going to be reaching the people you do resonate with, whether it is single moms or dog people or the over 40 crowd or, the goth crowd or the cottage crowd. It doesn't really matter, or the professional crowd or the people who want to live that queen life, whatever it is, those are your people. So if you're consistent with your branding, your content, how you present yourself, you do a bit of research and really take time to figure out what it is that you're selling and why what you're doing is unique in comparison to other people. That is going to help you create a very consistent overall brand. And that is what's going to pull people to you and make them want to work with you.
Yep. Again, people watch Ryan George videos, especially at the pitch meetings, because they want to see at what point is he going to say super easy, barely an inconvenience. That, but again, he's been making videos on YouTube since like 2008. So, but like think about your favorite YouTube people if you watch a lot of YouTube, or your favorite TikTok creators, and like what is it in their videos? Like Smid just figured out that when you make videos in CapCut, you can edit what it says underneath the CapCut theme. So he's
Mm-hmm.
been having a lot of fun because he's been running the dogs account for the most part. He's changing that every time. And so, eventually as our channel grows, people are gonna be like, oh, well, what's it gonna say at the end? And so he's using that to help audience retention, but also to set us apart, right? I just take the CapCut editing out. But if you want to you can do the same thing, utilize it to put a favorite quote or put a joke or whatever it is, whatever fits your brand. Ways that you can do that.
Yeah, it's funny. It was making me think of Bob's Burgers. If you ever watch the intro to Bob's Burgers, if you've ever watched this show, the one that they're in the middle and it's always like grand opening, grand reopening, and so on and so forth over and over again for the Bob's. On one side, it's a funeral parlor, but on the other side, it changes. The store that's on the other side changes every single time. It would be like the Simpsons opening again, where it's different every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're watching just to see what the difference is. Again, that is branding. We know there's going to be something different. We know there's going to be something funny. We know there's going to be something interesting. When you're new, you're going to find that maybe your content's a little bland, and that's okay because you're finding your voice. So don't get too frustrated, but take that time, figure out what your voice is. And when you're doing your content, sort of try to keep in mind like you're talking to your friends.
Mhm.
you know, because those are the people you want to reach. And those are the people, like, how would you talk to somebody that's, new to your group and a friend, and you're telling them a story, you're sharing something that you think is important, or you're trying to show them how to do something. Use that same voice when
And
when
avoid
you're doing your
avoid the platform intro, right? Avoid the hey Facebook, hey Instagram. Avoid that because you're automatically like setting it apart where it's like, oh, you're just worried about your followers. I used to like get on Facebook and be like, hey Facebook friends and followers, because it was a little less generic. And then somebody that I was friends with that also followed me, like, may not have been related to that video, but made a comment about how like it's weird when people talk about their followers on a video or like address their followers because it makes it seem like it's only about their followers. So I stopped doing it because I was like, oh, you know what? That may be right. So I just went straight to hey Facebook friends. Or I think I changed it to Facebook friends and family. But definitely avoid just doing the generic what's up Instagram kind of stuff because it will kind of alienate your audience as well.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey peeps, because that's my thing, all right? Because I never know. I repurpose my content, so that
Exactly.
way I don't have
Yeah.
to worry about where it's going because it doesn't really matter. It's all about the people I'm connected with. If you want to learn about the brand archetypes, just go into your favorite search engine and ask for the 12 classic brand archetypes. They will list them up for you. And then from there, you can go into Chat GPT and ask them to write little stories about each one, like a paragraph or two paragraphs, just to give you an idea of what you resonate with. Don't worry if you resonate with more than one. We all have bits and pieces of all sorts of things. For me, I ended up going with the everyman, but I also was really strongly aligned with caregiver and sage, which is education and nurture. Obviously, those are pretty common, right? But once I narrowed it down, I was able to really hone in on one thing, but I can still pull those other things in because they are part of my personality. And yeah, we went through everything else. Define your unique selling proposition, identify your target audience, create consistent branding elements, and that includes the content that you're doing. Okay, engage and interact. We have to remind ourselves, not just you guys.
Yeah.
And just be authentic. Be yourself. Come as you are, show up as you are. Don't start a brand that you can't maintain because it is so far outside of your own comfort.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's not who you are, I mean, it might be who you want to be, but be fair and be honest to yourself. Because if you're trying to live up to an idea versus a reality, you're going to probably fall short and then get very angry and frustrated with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, your brand can evolve just as you can, but start where you are. And I think that that's about it for this week. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, then of course, always we would love to hear them. If you're watching this on replay, please drop a hashtag replay. Next week, we are going to be talking about Instagram strategies. Okay.
Instagram.
And we may have a few other little things that go on with that. But yes, we're going to be focusing on Instagram because it is the new shiny object. Well, it's not new, it's been around a while, but they've done a lot of changes to try and make it more relevant. And also because with the whole, TikTok fiasco that's going on right now,
Yeah.
Instagram may be where a lot of people jump back to. So, anyway,
Yep.
we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.